Welcome to my channel. Today I am coming a new video. You all are already see the topic that I discuss today. So today I discuss about spleen. In previous video I already discussed about the lymphatic systems, lymphatic vessels and lymphatic organs. So spleen is the most important lymphatic organ in our body. So let's start. So today I discuss in this video the anatomy and physiology of the spleen. We already know spleen is a lymphatic organ. Spleen is the largest single mass of lymphoid tissue in the body. It is largest and single mass of lymphoid tissue. It is also soft and friable. What is the friable? Friable means easily broken into the small pieces. I already discussed in previous video the spleen filter the blood or lymph and kill the blood-borne antigens and microorganisms that are virus, bacteria. But normally in fetal life spleen is a blood-forming organ. So when a baby grow in a mother womb, that is called fetal life. In that time the spleen work as a blood-forming organ. But in postnatal life, it is a blood destroying organ. So when baby is born, that is called the postnatal life. In that time, the spleen is a blood destroying organ. That means in that time, spleen filter the blood from blood-borne antigens and microorganisms. Next, color. Spleen is a red-brown in color, like these types of color. Next, I discuss the locations of the spleen. It is situated in the left hypochondrial region. This is the left side and this is the left hypochondrial region, and in that locations the spleen is present. It is the spleen. So the spleen is situated in the left hypochondrial region, and this region that are opposite the levels of 9th, 10th and 11th ribs. So the spleen is situated the opposite sides of 9, 10 and 11 ribs. That's are 9, 10 and 11 ribs, and these are the spleen. Next I discuss about the associated organ. That means surrounding the spleen which organs are present. Posteriorly diaphragm is present. So it is the spleen and posteriorly diaphragm is present. Anteriorly fundus of stomach is present. This is the stomach and it's the part of fundus. So, and it is the spleen. So, anteriorly the fundus of stomach is present. We all are understood. Inferiorly the left colic flexure of the large intestine is present. In this picture, this is the spleen and this is the part of left colic flexure of the large intestine, and this side of the inferior side. So inferiorly left colic flexure of the large intestine is present. Medially the pancreas and left kidney is present. Medially means in the middle side. Let's see the picture. In this picture we all are see this is spleen, this is left kidney and this is pancreas, and in the middle side of the spleen the left kidney and pancreas is present, and laterally diaphragm is present. Let's see the picture. These are the spleen, these are the lateral side and these are the diaphragm. So in the lateral side the diaphragm is present. It is very important. In the exams it will be come. So the question is write down the associate organ of the spleen. Next I discuss about the dimensions. The spleen is a wedge shaped organ. It is a 1 inch thick, 3 inch broad and 5 inch long. So it is a 1 inch thick, broad is 3 inch and long is 5 inch, and weight is 7 ounce, that are 200 grams. Next I discuss the histology of the spleen. So let's start. spleen is covered by a deep serous layer that is called capsule. It is the capsule. These all are trabecule. Trabecule arising from the capsules and extend to the substance of the spleen. These capsules and trabeculae made up of fibrous tissue. There is a splenic artery which bring the blood and it divided into the small arterioles and that called the central arterioles. That are the central arterioles, and they are also branching, and these are called the end capillaries. So these are the splenic artery. These are the central arteries. Central arterioles, and these all are the end capillaries, and they are not joined straight away to the vein. Surrounding to the arteries in the spleen, there are lymphoid tissue. These are lymphoid tissue that are called the periarterial lymphatic sheath. These are periarterial lymphatic sheath. This lymphatic tissue, periarterial lymphatic sheath, contain the immune cells, mainly the T cells and the macrophages. By the side of periarterial lymphatic sheath, there are also another lymphoid tissue that are called the marginal zone. These are marginal zone. It is made up of predominantly macrophages. There are also another lymphatic tissue that's a follicle. So these all are follicle and made up by the immune cell that are mainly the B cells. These three layers are together called white pulp. The three layers are periarterial lymphatic sheath, that are the periarterial lymphatic sheath, white zone, and next are marginal zone, that are the marginal zone that are marked by the violet color, and that are the follicle, round shape, marked by the blue color. These all are together called the white pulp. This white pulp made up 25% of splenic tissue. These white pulp are very important for the spleen because they contain the immune cell, and they are important for fighting with the infection such as bacteria and viruses. We are easily see when a spleen is removed from a human, these humans are become more infected with infection other than the normal people. So these white pulp are also important in mounting the immune response and as well as producing the antibodies. So now going back to the splenic artery. This is splenic artery, and they are divided into the central arterioles, and they are also branching, and this is called the end capillaries. So when there is artery, there has to be vein. These end capillaries and end arteries, they have no wall, which allow the red blood cells and other cells to essentially flow into the surrounding tissue. So when the red blood cells and other cells are in surrounding tissue, these are red blood cells and other cells. So when the red blood cells and other cells are in surrounding tissue, they are picked up by the sinus systems. These are the sinus systems. Green color indicate the sinus systems. These sinus systems are called the venous systems. They all around by the arterioles. And this venous sinus collecting the red blood cells and other cells and transport to the collecting vein, and then collecting vein are joined up and drain into the splenic vein, that are the venous sinus, that are the collecting vein, and that are the splenic vein. Between the arteries and the splenic vein, there is a tissue that's called the bile rod cords. These are essentially where we have see the heap of macrophages. This cord and venous sinus made of the red pulp. This red pulp made up of majority of 75% of the spleen, and this red pulp are most important for destroying and filtering the abnormal red cells or unhealthy red cell, that we are easily see a human without a spleen. In that human, in the circulation there have more and more abnormal red cells and unhealthy red blood cells. So these are all about the histology of the spleen and also blood supply of the spleen. It is also most important questions for exams. Next I discuss about the functions of the spleen. Most important functions of the spleen are phagocytosis and destruction of RBC. I discuss these two functions are jointly, and these two functions I already told. I already told the old abnormal and unhealthy red blood cells are destroyed by the red pulp in the spleens and break into the bilirubins iron that are transported by the splenic veins and portal vein. And other cellular materials like the leukocytes, platelets and bacteria is phagocytosed in the spleen. And the old and abnormal erythrocytes or red blood cells are destroyed by the red pulp in the spleen. Next, immune response. The spleen, mainly the white pulp, contain the T and B lymphocytes. Mainly the periarterial lymphatic sheath contain the T cell and macrophages, and follicles contain the B cells or B lymphocytes. So these are important for fighting with infections such as virus, bacteria, and also important in mounting an immune response as well as producing antibodies. Next function is storage of blood. Spleen contain up to the 350 ml of the blood, and by the response of sympathetic stimulations it can rapidly return into the circulations. Other important functions are in the fetal life it is a blood forming organs, and in adult life it is productions of lymphocytes. So these are all about the anatomy and physiology of the spleen.